Africa, your school curriculum is training children for a future that's already died. Not a lot of people are alarmed about it. For 12, 16, sometimes 20 years, we place our children into institutions that will determine exactly how they will think about the world. Not what they will know for sure, but how they will think. That distinction is very clear because every curriculum is a blueprint, every lesson is a vote, every examination is a signal, and together they answer the question, what kind of people is this continent trying to produce? Are we producing true investors, problem solvers? Are we producing institution builders, nation builders? Or are we simply producing obedient test takers? Think about that. A child can spend 22 years in school and never once be taught how government waste works. They can spend 30 years in school and never be taught how governments destroy funds, how power manipulates population, or how propaganda works, how nations become wealthy, how civilizations rise and collapse. Never once be taught how to recognize corruption before it shows up in suit and tie or in native attire. Yet, we call it education. That's not education, that's information management. Because there's a difference between educating a mind and occupying a mind. And the African school system is designed as expert at occupation, not education. Children memorize, repeat, forget, memorize again, repeat, forget, and memorize, and one day they take the test and they pass. Year after year, they don't pass the knowledge, they pass the ability to reproduce what they memorized. And one day they graduate not as independent minds, but as participants in a system they do not even understand. Now compare that with nations that think strategically. When a country decides it wants engineers, it builds engineers. When a country decides it wants scientists, it builds scientists. When a country decides it wants industrial growth, it shapes education towards industrial growth. The curriculum is intentionally designed to achieve such goals. But Africa has a different problem. We are driving without first deciding where we are going, which means the school curriculum has become a museum, a collection of educational fossils, old priorities, old assumptions, old realities. Meanwhile, the world is changing at a terrifying speed. And Africa is still asking their children questions that have absolutely nothing to do with the future they are about to inherit. This, this one should scare every parent who really think. Because children do not become what the nation hopes for them. They become what the nation trains them for. And training is never accidental. And that brings me to the question nobody wants to ask. If our schools continue to produce the current society we live in, then perhaps the curriculum is not failing. It is doing exactly what it was designed for. It is producing exactly the expectation. And if that thought makes you uncomfortable, I'll ask you this. If you have the job of designing a curriculum that will produce the Africa we all dream of, would you replicate this exact one? Would you? Because the exact one we have is what produces our current society. So would you repeat it or would you change it?